Hello, everyone.
The hell was that? Did I hit puberty yet? Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of What's on My Desk. Today, something a little different for you. I know that majority of my subscriber base is male. However, I do have some female subscribers, so obviously this one is for you, but it's also for you guys because I'm naming this episode, What Do I Buy My Lady? And I brought a few interesting options here, and before I get into what I brought, I just wanted to quickly say that there's a big difference in regards to the mindset of a watch buyer who is a male versus female. And again, I'm not going to be here trying to offend anybody, so whatever I say, take it for what it's worth. When a female goes to a watch store and she wants to buy herself a watch, they look at things from a completely different perspective. And I'm talking about probably a majority of females. There's lots of females out there that are watch connoisseurs, that are into the nuts and bolts, just like guys are. Of course, that percentage is much lower versus those that look for a beautiful piece of jewelry, which also stands true for a watch, which is why a lot of ladies' watches out there are made from precious metals. There's always some sort of diamonds on them and so on and so forth, and they tend to be made to look prettier as more of a piece of jewelry rather than a time machine. However, that doesn't mean that ladies' pieces cannot be complicated, cannot be a hell of a machine, and oftentimes you'll see ladies' versions of men's watches, which is the case with some of the pieces I brought here, and some are just strictly ladies' watches. So what did I bring? I brought a ladies' Vacheron Overseas. As you see here, I brought a Lange 1 ladies' version. I brought an oldie but a goodie. It just happened to be next to this Lange, so I decided to bring it as well. It's a Lange Arcade, as well as Girard Perregaux World Time ladies, and the coveted Richard Mille. Of course, had to throw a Richard Mille in there. So how does all this fit into equation based on what I said earlier? When men go out to look for ladies' pieces, men's mind is set in a bit of a different way. Men are out there looking for a particular brand that they admire, such as Lange & Son. It's one of the most respected brands out there, or Vacheron for that matter, right? Men get out there and look at it from a perspective of mechanics, brand recognition. What do I want my lady to wear on her wrist, right? Of course, at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 times, they're gonna go with what the lady picks out of a showcase, because who are we to argue with them, right? But really, the guy's mind works a little different. And when I go out there and I pick up a watch for my wife, notice I didn't bring any APs here because you guys know I'm biased, and my wife mostly has APs, right? I happen to be lucky enough to have a wife whose taste in watches is in line with mine. AP is my favorite brand. AP also happens to be her favorite brand. But did that really happen because my wife was so knowledgeable in watches, she decided I'm gonna go with AP? No, I probably had something to do with that because she knew how biased I was towards Audemars Piguet, right? But again, to go back to how guys look at things, guys look at the machine, guys look at the mechanics, they look at the brand, they look at the history, they look at the overall popularity of a particular brand, and they'll say, you know what, I wanna get my wife a Vacheron. Whereas a lady will walk in and who the hell's Vacheron? And why do I care that they're part of the Holy Trinity, right? I don't like the way the watch looks. Or vice versa. Oh, I like this is cute. I like the way this looks, and I'm gonna go with this. Great choice. And again, I'm not talking for every lady out there, for every man out there. I'm talking for the majority. And I'm talking based on experience because I sell a lot of ladies' watches directly to ladies, and I also sell a lot of ladies' watches through their significant others. This is what I've come up with over the last 15 years in terms of the trends. So I'm going to show you a couple of watches. Vacheron Constantin, right? Huge history behind the brand. Most guys out there will say part of the Holy Trinity. So what did they do? They didn't get very creative. They took an existing male watch, which is a Vacheron Constantin Overseas dual time moon phase watch with a power reserve, right? Even the case size of this watch is the same case size as a male watch. Did it in yellow gold, white rubber strap with a diamond bezel. I guarantee you show this to 10 women, maybe 2 out of 10 will like this watch. The rest won't. You show this to 10 men, and probably 9 out of 10 men will say, I would love for my lady to wear this. And not because of the way it looks, because guys will get blinded by the fact that this is a Vacheron Constantin, right? A popular overseas model. Where ladies are gonna look at it and say, you know what, this is a bit bulky, it's not very dressy looking, I think it might be way too sporty, there's too much going on here on the dial, what is all this, right? But that's just the way it goes. And again, I'm not talking about everyone out there. I'm talking about the majority based on my experience. So I don't wanna make it sound like, oh, all the ladies only want to go for pretty cute and shiny stuff. No, that's not the case. But for the most part, this would be a watch a guy would want to buy for his significant other. But but yet not a watch that most ladies would reach for to want to own this and put this on their wrist. And speaking of which, let me put it on my wrist so you guys can see the size of this watch, and it actually fits me well. Because again, it's the same size. I mean, look at this. This is a perfect size watch for my wrist. Might even be a little bit big. So you see where I'm going with this, right? Let's go to another watch, which is the same thing. It's a men's watch, and I'm gonna throw it on the wrist right away so you guys can see it. It's a men's size watch done in a ladies version by simply dressing it up with diamonds. So the Girard Perregaux World Time, and I think I did a review on the Girard Perregaux World Time for men, and this is no different than the men's version, except this is done in a rose gold, and this is done with a diamond bezel. This is a very popular watch, and the reason this is a very popular watch because although it's a big men's size, this is a watch that would be 50-50 between men and ladies because you know what? This watch is just pretty. Look at it. This is a gorgeous watch for ladies. If you look at the combination of the dial, you have the mother of pearl in the middle. The color scheme is thought out really, really well. The diamond bezel, the rose gold case, the cabochons on the side, everything about this watch makes everyone say, hey, this is a really pretty watch, both men and ladies. And men will say, wait a minute, this is a nice complication. This is a world time. This is a moon phase watch. It's got the power reserve indicator. This is a nice watch for you to own. Again, you see where I'm going with this, right? Let's move right along. Now, here comes a watch that I feel is something that will be equally appreciated from both male and female side. It's a Lange & Söhne, right? 9 out of 10 watch guys out there have a deep appreciation for Lange & Söhne. The mechanics of the watch, the way these watches are made, and again, I won't get into much details on Lange & Söhne. I've talked about it plenty of times, but let's look at the watch. This is a Lange 1, ladies version. Now, mind you, this watch is smaller. It's not made in the same case size as the men's watch, and that's where I feel Lange had did better. They specifically made this to be a ladies watch. Again, rose gold, beautiful diamond bezel, beautiful dark mother of pearl dial, and the way that the gold markers and all the hands and the indicators stand out against the mother of pearl dial, it just makes for a great overall look. Skeleton back, so you can appreciate the movement that Lange & Söhne makes. I can't think of a whole lot of guys out there that wouldn't get excited over Lange & Söhne as a company, specifically an iconic watch such as the Lange 1. And since I happen to have had this particular watch sitting right next to in a safe, I might as well show you. This is an older model. They don't make these anymore, the arcade. Look at how well this watch is made. There's something about baguette bezels, obviously, that adds such an oomph to any watch out there, whether it's men's or ladies. And the way the mother of pearl dial is done in sort of sectionals, and it's separated by, again, baguette diamond bezels on the dial. This is one of those watches that's so understated, but yet makes a huge statement, I feel like. Again, see-through back to show off the inner workings of a beautifully made Lange. I will get back to this watch in a minute, just because there is actually a reason why this is here. Now let's talk about the hottest, the latest, and the greatest, right? Richard Mille. Everybody wants a Richard Mille. It's hot, it's crazy. It goes, some watches sell at double their retail value. The retail price is outrageous to begin with. In the episode I did with Perregaux Talks Watches, where we did a market update on RM Patek and Rolex, if you guys didn't see that, check that out. One of the things Perregaux said about Richard Mille, and and he didn't really let the cat out of the bag, he felt like Richard Mille was a brand for the ultra-rich, for those that wanted to show off, for those that wanted to say, hey, I have at least $100,000 to $200,000 on my wrist and so on. And I somewhat agree with him. Yes, that's a big part of that brand, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Not every Bugatti or Ferrari owner buys their cars for the mechanics of it, right? They buy it as a status symbol, they buy it to show off, and again, we talked about this before. So if you're a guy out there saying that, oh, wait a minute, I want my lady to wear Richard Mille now. I'm wearing Richard Milles, then maybe my significant other should wear Richard Mille. Well, guess what? You're gonna reach for one of these. I can't think of one lady that would look at this watch and say, oh, I don't like it, it's kind of ugly, because this is a beautiful watch. It's an RM07. This is the Jasper dial in the middle with a diamond surround. It's a rose gold watch, ceramic top, ceramic bottom, rose gold sides, rose gold buckle, automatic movement, see-through. Overall, a gorgeous watch. So this is a watch that pretty much fits every criteria. If you have a woman that's into the latest, the greatest, the hottest. If you have a woman who doesn't even know what Richard Mille is, she'll look at this watch and say, oh wait, I like this watch because this is a beautiful watch. A guy out there that follows the latest trends, that wants to wear the latest, the hottest, and so on and so forth, he's gonna reach for this. And if he owns a Richard Mille, he's definitely gonna reach for one of these, or maybe the slightly bigger RM37 in the same version. But nevertheless, this is the hottest ladies RM out there today. Now, let me back up and let's talk about pricing and pricing on ladies' watches in general. You guys all know that unfortunately ladies' pieces don't tend to hold their value the same as male watches. And the reason for that is, for the most part, the watch market is a boys' club. Again, I'm generalizing strictly on numbers. For every 10, 15 watches I'll sell to a guy, I will sell 1 or 2 watches to a lady, because guys are more into watches than ladies. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of things the ladies are into, the guys are not into, and so on and so forth. So therefore, the resale value on ladies' pieces tends to suffer, and tends to suffer greatly because of that. On top of that, ladies' pieces tend to be overpriced. And I hate to put it this way, guy goes into a store with his wife or girlfriend or what have you. She looks at a slew of watches, and she's gonna go out there, for the most part, as I said earlier, will pick one that she likes the most, the prettiest watch, let's say. And she's gonna go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, look at 5, 10 different things and say, you know what, I like that one, right? And if this is a situation where it's the male companion purchasing this watch for his female companion, whether they're married or not, it's irrelevant. Once she picks the one she likes, he's kind of in a position to say, okay, let's go with that one, right? So what they do is they tend to jack the prices up on ladies' pieces. Case in point, this lady's Girard Perregaux World Time retails for $55,500. Sounds a little overfetched, but again, if I am a male buying this particular watch and she picks this one, why not try to charge me $55,000 for this watch? So what is this watch worth? Well, I think we're selling this watch brand new for less than half price online. Again, due to the fact that the demand is just not there, and due to the fact that the retail price is a bit overpriced on this stuff, right? Let's continue on. The Lange & Son. This watch retails for $55,000. Why? Because it has a diamond bezel, where a regular Lange is in the 30s. A Lange 1, a men's version that's actually bigger. Not that it makes a big difference, but $55,000. This Arcade, I don't remember what the retail price off the top of my head was, but it was closer to $100,000 because it had baguette bezels. Manufacturers tend to upcharge on their pieces, or they tend to justify the retail prices by adding diamonds onto the case. Now, you guys also know that I'm in the jewelry business, so let me tell you something. Let's look at the bezel of this Girard Perregaux. You got approximately 2 carats of diamonds. Now, granted, they use top-notch diamonds, highest quality diamonds. For me to go out there and actually make this bezel, I'd be surprised if it cost me more than $2,500 to make. So why upcharge some $20,000 for this particular bezel? Why? Because they can. And also, if you think from the manufacturer's perspective or the dealer's perspective, if you're going to sell a ladies' watch for every 20 men's watches, how do you make money in your ladies' lines if you can't sell more pieces? You mark up the prices higher. A $2,500 bezel translates into about a $20,000 difference in retail price. That's pretty nuts, right? And let's not even talk about baguette bezels. Vacheron, however, did it a little bit differently. But the current model of a dual time and rose gold on a strap is $42,800. This watch retails for $38,800. But remember, this is an older model, so this was made a little while back when the retails were less. Going back to the time when this was made, there was only about a $3,000-$4,000 differential in retails between the diamond version versus the regular version. About a $2,500, $3,000 bezel here if I were to make this particular bezel. So Vacheron actually were the one that reasonably priced their ladies' pieces, but most manufacturers do not. You get out to companies like Chopard that are notorious for making diamond watches. Those retail prices are insane. Speaking of insane, let's talk about Richard Mille. We all know that RMs are the hottest thing on the market right now. They trade crazy over lists. You would think that for a ladies' watch, you should be able to get it at a discount considering everything I said thus far. Not so. Due to the extremely low production values, this watch retails for $105,000. And I'm not going to get into the fact that, you know, Richard Mille watch retail prices are outrageous based on what you get. I mean, this is a plain watch that shows you the time with a little bit of diamonds on it, made out of ceramic. Had it been a Chanel, for example, you know, a white ceramic Chanel with diamond bezel, diamond dial, and so on and so forth, the retail price would probably be a third of that. But that's not the topic here. What does this watch trade for? It trades for $125,000. And it just shows you how strong Richard Mille has positioned himself on the market in terms of supply, demand, and popularity. That demand, that popularity is so strong, the demand is so high that even the ladies' pieces, which technically should discount as every other ladies' watch does out there, is still trading over list. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts, but that's the world we live in today. What are some of the other examples out there of a ladies' watch trading over list? How about I can't think of any, maybe with the exception of the Rainbow Daytona, but the Rainbow Daytona is still technically a men's watch. There were the Patek anniversary pieces that were made for ladies. They went out of the gate, they were trading over list, they're limited editions. Guess what? They're a little bit down and they're trading a bit under list at this point. This is really an anomaly in the watch world. A ladies piece that trades over list, and not to mention that the list price to begin with is fairly insane for what you get in this particular watch. And I think that's what drives most Richard Mille consumers, is that particular fact. I can't get it. It's the hottest. It's the latest. It's way overpriced. I can afford it. I'm going to go out there and buy it. Again, not to play down the guys that do appreciate Richard Mille's for the nuts and bolts and some of the great horological innovations they have done. So how do I sum this up? Well, let's start with the fact that I don't have a ladies' watch on my wrist. I'm wearing my vintage Blancpain Aqualung. You guys have seen this watch before. How do I sum this up? If you're a guy out there buying your lady a watch, the easiest thing to do is not make it a surprise. Is to put a bunch of watches in front of your lady, take her to a store that carries many lines, and sort of feel out what she physically likes. Because ladies are the ones that practice what I always preach: buy what you like first and foremost, right? Once you set a particular budget, and if you have that kind of communication with your significant other, you can get out there, you can look at a bunch of watches. Our budget is this, let's look at it, try a few things on, and she'll tell you, you know what, oh, I love the way this one looks, and I really, really hate that. And take your opinions out of the picture, because if I sat there and explained to my wife the mechanics of a tourbillon or a minute repeater or so on and so forth, she could probably care less. Although, me having been in the business for so long, she understands all that stuff at this point, but if I rewound that before I was in the business, the result would probably be like, well, that's great that it's a tourbillon and a power reserve and a minute repeater and a chronograph and a Quantine perpetual and blah, 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 and all those wonderful nuts and bolt things. She would say it's still ugly, right? If you think that in the possible future, this is a watch you're going to be trading in and getting rid of this and getting something else, so you don't take a huge beating on something like that, if that's a concern, go within the realm of what she likes in terms of particular looks, and then go out to companies that will most likely hold some of that, retain some of that value, get out there, find this watch at a discount, and so on and so forth. Langes actually hold their value decent, even the ladies' pieces, because again, they don't make very, very many of them. Girard, Perregaux, not so much. This Vacheron, yes. Richard Mille, who knows? I don't have a glass ball, right? We don't know what's going to happen with these guys. But for the most part, listen to your lady, see what she likes first and foremost, and then within that realm, if you want to bias the opinion towards something that you're biased towards, let's say if you're a Vacheron guy, an AP guy like myself, then find a Vacheron, find the AP that fits the criteria that she really, really likes. And that's just the end of it. And if at the end of the day, she wants to go for a Chanel ceramic watch, or she wants to go for a lady's diamond encrusted Chopard or Girard Perregaux that you know is going to tank in value, bite the bullet, buy what she wants. If you are in a position where this has to be a particular surprise, that's when it becomes really, really tough. I would then base that on your significant other's style, the way she dresses, some of the accessories that has. Look at the jewelry that she likes. How's that particular watch going to look when she puts it on her wrist, along with some of the jewelry that she owns and some of the accessories that she wears? Is she a little more conservative? Does she like a larger watch? Does she like a smaller watch? And that's really, especially if it's a first time buying a watch, it becomes really, really tough. But that's a tough one to answer, and it's like me having to answer a question of what do ladies really like, right? That's an impossible question to answer. If you're a lady out there shopping for the watches by yourself and you're buying yourself a gift, again, I always say buy what you like first and foremost, but ask yourself a question before you do. These are expensive toys, right? So, you know, are you someone that cares about the history of the company? Are you someone that cares about, you know, what's behind the brand? How long have they been around? Why are you out there buying yourself, let's say, a Chanel bag for God knows how many thousands of dollars, right? Are you buying it because of the brand? Are you buying it because you like the way the bag looks? There's plenty of Michael Kors bags that looks great as well, and that are 10 times cheaper, right? Be honest with yourself. What are you concerned with most and foremost? The look, the hype, the mechanics, or everything under the sun. And that's really the easiest way to make that particular decision, because at the end of the day, if you're someone that deeply is concerned about history, if you're somebody that's into watch history, into the nuts and bolts and so on and so forth, you'll probably find yourself in a Lange. If you're someone that wants the latest and the greatest, you'll find yourself in a Richard Mille. If you're someone that wants a lot of glitter, a lot of shine, you'll probably find yourself in a fully diamond encrusted Chopard, or plenty other brands out there that make really, really dressy jewelry watches, like Harry Winston, for example, or Cartier. And that's really it. I don't know if this was good enough advice and so on and so forth. I just wanted to show off some different ladies' watches, really, because I don't do ladies' stuff a whole lot. I'll hopefully shine a little bit of light for those ladies that are out there shopping for the watches themselves, as well as the guys that are out there trying to buy a watch for their lady. Comment below. If you're a female, let me know what watches you own and where and why. You know, why did you pick that particular watch, perhaps? And if you're a guy who has bought his significant other a watch, let me know what it was. And let me know if the choice was biased mostly by your decision or her decision. I would love to hear from you guys. Other than that, that's it for me for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, something a little bit different. As always, like, share, subscribe to my channel if you're not a subscriber already, and do all those wonderful things you do to help my channel grow. And other than that, I'll see you guys next week for more watch reviews and other videos.